Children having imaginary friends doesn't seem like a big deal until you start to see them. This story is coming from a lady named Anna, and she is a widow and she has 2 twin girls. The twins are 6 years old, and together with the mom they attended this birthday party that the mom's friend made for their child. The mom's friend's house just so happened to be really close to a cemetery. Red flags, red flags. At this birthday party, the twins had a really good time. They even made new friends. So towards the end of the birthday party, the twins came up to their mom and asked if they could invite their new friend to spend the night. Anna agreed that she could spend the night, but they had to go ask the girl's parents for permission and then they would take her with them. So the twins ran off to go and tell the little girl to ask the parents, and a while later they come back and tell their mom that they agreed and the little girl was gonna come and spend the night. So Anna was like, okay, cool, and looked around because only her twin daughters had came back and the friend was nowhere to be found. So when she asked her twins where's their friend, the 2 girls just looked at each other and were like, I'm not sure, maybe her parents are gonna drop her off at our house. Anna thought it was weird because she was like, well, I don't know if they know where we live, but whatever, let's just go home, and they went about their way. So when they got home, time passed, it got really late and nobody went and dropped off any girl at her house, so all 3 of them went to bed. Around midnight, Anna wakes up because she could hear her twins laughing and laughing in their bedroom. So Anna gets out of bed, goes to her twins' bedroom, and gets mad at them for being loud and playing when she had just put him to bed an hour ago. She tells them that they need to go to bed and stay put. However, this was to happen every night since then. Night after night, Anna would wake up hearing her daughters laughing and playing with toys. She would go into their bedroom, get mad at them, and tell them to go to sleep. So Friday comes, and again she's awoken by her daughters playing and being loud in their bedrooms, but Anna was like, you know what, I'm gonna let them play. It's Friday, tomorrow's Saturday, they don't have to get up early, so I'm just gonna let them be. So the following day, Saturday, when they were having breakfast, the mom asked the girls if they had fun last night playing with their toys. And one of the girls admitted to mom that yeah, they had so much fun and that their new friend just made them laugh so much. Excuse me? Anna was a little shocked by that response, and she asked them, what friend are you talking about? And one of the girls was like, well, the girl from the party, remember we asked you for permission to let her come over and spend the night. When she heard that, she did get goosebumps, but then she was like, oh, they're 6 years old, they're probably making this up, they have an imaginary friend, maybe it's a stuffed animal for all she knew, so she really didn't give it that much importance. So that Saturday went pretty normal. They left the house, they went to the park, they came back home, and when it came to nighttime, they all went to bed, and again, the mom is woken up by the girls playing in their bedroom. So of course, Anna gets up, but this time instead of opening the door, she decides to put her ear to the door and just listen in on what the girls are saying or what they're laughing at. It is there when she hears both of her daughter's voices and a third completely different voice. Anna was like, how are my twins creating a third voice? Like, how are they creating this voice that sounds completely different and pretending it's their imaginary friend? She was very curious, but she decided not to open the door just yet because she wanted to continue to hear what they were saying. So as she's listening, she then hears one of her twin daughters starts crying, and that is the moment that she opens the door and walks in. When she opens the door, she sees that both of her daughters are in the middle of the room sitting down, and one of them is indeed crying. Obviously, she gets in there and asks her daughter why she's crying. That is when her daughter, in between cries, tells her mom that their friend pulled her hair and she honestly just wants her to leave already. Anna did not know how to respond to that. She didn't know how to react to that, so she just said, you know what, let's just go to sleep. You guys shouldn't have been out of bed anyway, please go to sleep. She told them to get some rest and that they would talk about this in the morning. The following morning, Anna did wait for the girls to bring up the conversation, but they didn't bring anything up. So she waited until dinner time to bring it up because they never brought this friend up the entire day. But because the girls are 6 years old, she decided to ask them about it in a very joking way. So she tells them, hey, where's your friend? Did she decide not to stay for dinner? Anna expected her daughters to laugh because she was trying to make a joke. However, her daughters did not laugh. They stayed very serious, and one of the girls told her she doesn't want to leave and we don't want her to be here anymore. She doesn't let us play in peace. She hits us and she pulls our hair when she gets mad, and she doesn't let us go to sleep. She always wants to play with us, but only in the middle of the night, and we're just tired of her already. After hearing this, Anna stayed at that dinner table just silent, not knowing what to say back to them. That same night, they all went to bed, and this time Anna got woken up again, except it wasn't with the laughter of her daughters. It was a completely different strange sound. She gets out of bed, she goes to the hallway and fully expects to see her daughter's room lit up, but every everything is in complete darkness. Regardless, she still headed over to her daughter's bedroom. She just wanted to make sure that everything was okay. When she opens the door, it's complete darkness, so they're not out and about playing with toys or anything like that. She decides that she's gonna get close to their bunk beds and give them a kiss goodnight and go back to sleep. As she gets closer to the bunk bed, she notices that one of the girls on the top bunk is sitting Indian style in the middle of the bed. So she tells her, hey, you should be asleep right now. You need to lay down, go to sleep because you have school tomorrow. So she was gonna give the girl on the top bunk time to lay down to give her a kiss goodnight. So in the meantime, she bent over to the bottom bunk to give the other girl a kiss. However, that is when she sees that both of her twin daughters were asleep in the bottom bunk together. Anna stayed paralyzed seeing both of her daughters in that bottom bunk. She didn't even want to look back up at that top bunk, because if both her daughters were at the bottom, who the fuck was at the top? Anna didn't know what to do. She was like, should I run? Should I wake up the girls? Should we all run together out there? Little by little, she picks up her head and is ready to just face what is up there. And when she does, there is nobody in that top bunk anymore. Even though in the moment she was very scared, Anna just thought to herself, wait, I might be hallucinating. I just woke up. I'm still sleepy. I definitely didn't see a girl up there. She decided not to wake up her daughters. She left their room and decided to go to bed. She admits that when she got into bed in the beginning, she couldn't really fall asleep because she was still a little bit scared. She was questioning what she had seen. Was she half asleep? Was it her imagination? But eventually she did end up falling asleep. However, Anna said that in between like a dream and awake state, she could have sworn that she heard a little girl ask her, can I sleep here with you? She didn't know if it was actually one of her daughters or if she was just having a dream, but of course she told the little girl, yeah, come into bed with me. Since she was still like half asleep, she just opened up the blanket and she felt when a little kid got into bed with her. However, she noticed that the kid was really cold, so in between like half and asleep, she got another blanket and put it over the little girl so that she wouldn't be so cold. A few moments later, she also hears that little girl voice ask her, can you be my mom? At that point, Anna was annoyed and she's like, I'm already your mom. Go to sleep. You have school tomorrow. The morning comes and Anna woke up super late to take her kids to school, but when she does, the twins were already ready and dressed and everything, but she notices that one of the twins has a lot of scratch marks and bruising all over her arm. She also notices that the girl's demeanor is very sad, like very depressed, so she asked her what happened. The little girl tells her mom, I don't want to live here anymore. I just want to move somewhere else. I don't want to be here. And Anna, trying to console her daughter, was like, but why? This is our home. Don't you like living here? What's going on? And that's when her daughter says, well, it's because I don't want to share you. That's when Anna got really concerned, because not only were her daughters playing with somebody, getting their hair put, scratches, she was like, why are they saying these weird things now? Like they're sharing me. She thought that with time, them not wanting to live there anymore would pass, but no, time after time, the girls were more sad, more depressed, and they didn't want to live there anymore. It got so bad that the girls didn't even want to sleep in their own bedroom anymore. They would cry night after night, and she would have to go in there and console them. Not only were the girls not getting any sleep, but Anna wasn't getting any sleep either, and at this point, they were all hearing little footsteps all throughout the house, even though the twin girls were asleep in her bed. Anna was tired, the girls were tired, and she ended up saying, okay, we're gonna go and stay with your grandmother for a few days. Every now and again, Anna would go to the house just to grab some stuff, and she would still hear those like freaking steps throughout the house, even though she was the only one in there. There was also one time where she went to go grab some clothes for the girls, where she could swear that she heard a little girl crying in one of the bedrooms. As Anna was exiting her home, locking up, one of her neighbors came up to her. This neighbor walks up to her and says, hey, how come one of your daughters stays with your mom and you leave the other one here by herself? Why are you leaving one of your daughters here for weeks? She's lonely. Why are you doing this to her? This is not okay. Anna didn't even know what to say. She was like in shock of what her neighbor was telling her, and that's when the neighbor continued, why are you leaving her there? I see her peeking through the window. She's lonely. Please stop doing this to her. If you have no one to take care of her, bring her to my house. I'll take care of her for you, but please stop leaving her alone. And remember, there was nobody in Anna's house because both of the girls were staying at their grandmother's house with her. After that, they never went back home. They never went back to living in that house. They stayed with the grandmother. I wouldn't even know what to do in that situation. Actually, yeah, I would get the fuck out. First of all, I would have been out the first night those girls were like, oh, my friend makes me laugh so much. Fuck that. Anyway, what would you guys do? Did you guys have an imaginary friend growing up? Hopefully no. Hopefully no. Hopefully it was imaginary, actually.
Don't watch this video at night when you're trying to go to bed, especially if you sleep alone. You've been warned. The story that was sent to me by somebody who wishes to remain anonymous has got to be the creepiest thing I've ever heard in my life. I don't know if y'all are ready for this one. I know I wasn't. But if you made it this far, you probably love scary stuff as much as I do. Just remember, you asked for this. You stayed. Let's get into it. For the sake of the story, we will call this person Becky. So Becky's lived in her house for 2 years on September 1st. She's heard noises a few times during those years, but she's never experienced anything that really scared her to her core until recently. Earlier this year, her father was diagnosed with stage 3 lung cancer. Her and her dad were extremely close, and sadly, he lost his battle on June 30th. A few months prior to his passing, he was placed on hospice. However, he was still alert and oriented. One day, Becky, her fiance, and her son were all driving to dinner when her son said, "Mom, I need to tell you something." Becky was like, "Okay, what's up?" Becky's fiance looks at her and says, "Just listen to him. He already told me this morning." Her son proceeds to tell her, "Mom, I saw Papaw." Becky was like, "Yeah, son, we go see Papaw every day." He said, "No, Mom, I saw Papaw in our house. I saw him 3 times. One time he was standing in my doorway just looking at me, and the second time he was running by my door and went into your room, and then the third time I only saw his face and he was just peeking in the doorway at me." He then told his mom he wasn't sick Papaw, he was normal Papaw. He went on to tell Becky what her dad was wearing, and he described exactly what her dad's work uniform was. Becky immediately started hysterically crying, and she was like, "Oh my god, I have to call my dad." She called her dad and everything was fine. He felt fine, nothing was wrong. He was more worried about her. Fast forward to now last week, Becky was laying on the couch talking to one of her best friends. It was the middle of the night because she's a night shift worker and her friend goes into work in the middle of the night. She hangs up the phone with her best friend and it was around 3:30 in the morning. A few minutes go by and she sees this dark figure that's like 6-7 foot tall that looks like it's wearing some kind of cloak of some type go from her son's room down the hallway to her room. She was frozen in fear and texted her best friend what she saw. That evening, before going into work again, she decided to tell her fiancé what she had seen. He was hesitant to do so because he doesn't really believe in a lot of things. Nonetheless, she tells him and he just stared at her. She's like, "I know you don't believe me." He said, "No, Becky, on Wednesday night while you were sleeping, I saw it twice." He said it was just standing on your side of the bed and just staring at me. He saw it once at 1:30 in the morning and then he went back to sleep and saw it again when he got up to get ready for work at like 4:30 in the morning. And he said that time he blinked and it was gone. He said he didn't tell her because he didn't want to scare her, but also he just didn't think she'd believe him. Towards the end of summer, he got up in the middle of the night one night and Becky felt him get up and then get back into bed, but she felt somebody standing behind her staring at her. She said she was too scared to roll over and look. She could feel it staring at her. Fast forward to this past weekend, her son comes to her again and says, "Mom, I need to tell you something." He proceeds to tell her that while he was using the bathroom a few minutes ago, he felt like somebody was watching him. He said he turned to look and there was a dark figure standing in Becky's bedroom doorway, leaning out looking at him. He said he could see what looked like stringy hair hanging down. Whatever this is, she's terrified that it took on the identity of her dad and that maybe her son has welcomed it into their home. She's looking for help, answers, anything. She needs advice. She's desperate for advice and suggestions on how to get this thing out of her house. She feels like she's tried everything. The only other weird thing that she's noticed is that all of a sudden she's being overran by spiders, but that just might be the time of the year, but it hasn't happened in years past. I can't wait to hear what y'all think about this one in the comments. As always, send me your scary stories.
My family lives near the Appalachian Trail, and I've lived near the Appalachian Trail for nearly my entire life in 3 different states. 3 different states I've lived almost really close to the Appalachian Trail. And people are always talking about how beautiful the trail is itself, like how tranquil it is and whatever. And my husband, who moved from Brazil, had never been there before. So we naturally decided to go camping there one time. I don't know if you're like familiar with Appalachia or anything, but once you step into those woods, like you can feel a significant change in the atmosphere. Like the energy just gets way more heavy and it's just weird. It feels off. You know that feeling in your gut when you just like know something's off? That's kind of how I was feeling the entire time that we were on the trail, but my husband was having a grand old time, and so I just pushed on. I was like, he's having a great time. He's never been out in these types of woods before. We're just gonna keep going. Whatever, we hiked on, and then we finally found our little camping spot, and when we did set up our camping spot, that's when I noticed that the sounds in the forest had stopped. And if you know anything about the woods, that is not a good sign. We set up our camping spot anyways. I kind of glanced over at my husband to see if he was picking up on what the energy was around the woods, and he totally was too, but he didn't say anything about it, and we just kind of pressed on. Surprisingly though, we were able to fall asleep in our tent. Like the beginning of the night was fine, other than the uneasy feeling that we both kind of had. But I want to say it was around midnight when we started to hear the sounds of footsteps outside of our tent. And if you are like an avid camper, you know that like footsteps outside of your tent is like usually just an animal. However, you can always tell when it's an animal walking on 4 legs versus 2. If you know what I mean? So when we heard the footsteps, we froze and we listened and we were like, yo, this is not the sound of an animal. Like, we could hear like kind of this low guttural growling that didn't sound like a bear. It didn't sound like any kind of animal that we've ever heard of before. Kind of like it wasn't a human, but it also wasn't quite animal. If that makes any sense. Does that make sense? I don't know what to tell you. It just sounded wrong. So my husband, being the big bad Brazilian that he is, he unzipped the tent and stuck his head out. Whatever he saw had him so damn shook that he muckled onto my arm so hard and he said, don't move. Don't move. He was like, don't look, don't look, don't look, don't move, don't look. And of course I looked. And what I saw has absolutely deterred me from going camping on the Appalachian Trail since. It was like this tall, pale, kind of like too thin to be a man type figure. Its arms were really gangly, like they were too long for its body. Mind you, I couldn't see it very clearly, okay, so I'm just like kind of telling you what the outline of what I saw looked like. I could tell that its head was kind of cocked to the side, like something does when it's kind of studying you, you know, like an animal or like something curious. It's like, and although I couldn't see its figure completely, I did see its glowing, creepy looking eyes. They looked like the glowing eyes of an animal off in the woods, but you know, they were like up too high to be an animal. It looked like a person, but somebody who's too tall to be a person, but they were standing like a man. Does that make sense to you? I don't really know how to explain it, but my mind knows what it looks like. We stayed locked in place, barely breathing, clutching on to each other, shaking. My chest felt like it was going to explode from holding everything in. Like the anticipation was absolutely crazy. Was this thing going to run at our tent? What was this thing going to do? Every instinct in my body told me to scream and run away, but both of those things in Appalachia are an absolute no-no. Those types of creatures love a good chase. Number 1 rule in Appalachia is if you've seen something, no you didn't. If you've heard something, no the fuck you didn't. And if you ever see something, you're supposed to just back away slowly. Not pay attention. I didn't see anything. I'm just gonna go back to my car. But anyway, after what seemed like forever, this thing finally stopped staring into our souls, dropped on all 4s, and then skittered into the woods as fast as it could. When I say fast, like it was like there and then it wasn't. Like, yeah, we didn't go investigate, obviously. We hunkered down in our tent and we didn't move or sleep for the rest of the night. And as soon as the sky turned even the lightest bit of gray, we sprung into action and tore up our whole entire campsite and left as soon as we could. I've heard so many other stories of creepy things happening to people on the Appalachian Trail. So honestly, it just kind of seems like a thing that happens when you go there, which makes sense. I mean, those are the oldest mountains in America. They have a lot of history, a lot of creatures that we refuse to acknowledge. So if you ever decide to go to Appalachia, do not forget the rules of the woods.
You guys want to hear a scary story? It reminds me a lot of Insidious, but it's real. One time when I was babysitting these 2 girls, talked about them in a video before this. We were going to call the older one Luna and the younger one Aura. That's what I called them last time. I was babysitting, and the older one had an imaginary friend that she called Pete. I would always sense weird energy in this house. Disturbing, dark, like not good, friendly Casper the Ghost. And then one time, the oldest Luna at the time was, I want to say she was 3 or 4. And the baby, Aura, was like 6 months old. And I had put Aura down for bed. Put her in her little swaddle, got her all set up. She was snug as a bug, cute, perfect sleeping. And me and Luna were out in the living room. Because I was like, okay, we can play one game together, like before you go to sleep. Because Aura obviously went to bed a little bit earlier. Then we pulled out like Candyland, some board game, which obviously she doesn't know how to play the ins and outs and the rules because she's 3. But when we were playing, she had another little character and it was Pete's, right? And every time, I swear to God, I would look away, I'd look back and it would move and she'd be like, oh, Pete moved it. And I'm like, okay, Luna, like you obviously moved it, you know? Like she's 3 and I know she's just like, you know, she doesn't know how to play the game. Now I know it was literally this dark spirit that was moving it, but stay with me. I'm like, okay, Luna, sure. And then out of nowhere, we're playing and the TV was on in the background. Excuse me. And Luna goes, I love this song. And I'm like listening. I'm like, what song, baby? Like, I don't hear any music. And she said, oh, the song that Pete is singing to me. said it's a song that my daddy plays on his guitar because their dad played guitar, I guess. Like, I'd always see the guitar. Sometimes it'd be in the living room or sometimes it'd be in the parents' room, like when I go in there to grab stuff for the kids. It was just like always propped against a wall. And I was like, oh, that's nice. Like, remember what we said about Pete? Because I told her I didn't want her talking to Pete because, again, this felt like a dark energy. And it sucked because every time I was there, I felt like he was sitting in between me and her. Like, he was always, the spirit, Pete, was always hovering. It would never go away. So anyways, I'm like, what song? Blah, blah. And she's like, I'm trying to get her to describe to me again. She's 3. She doesn't really know how to describe it. And she says, no, Pete said he'll play for you. And I said, no, that's okay. Me like, want anything to do with it? She said, no, he'll play for you. Just hold on. So I ignore it and we start playing this game again. Just moving little pieces across the board. And all of a sudden I hear the strum of a guitar. Just a solo strum, like an off chord. And I just get chills down my back because at this time, the guitar was in the parents' room. I only knew that. I hadn't gone in their room that time, but because I heard it and their door was shut. And Luna jumps up. She's like, oh, I told you, Riley. Like, I told you. Pete said he'd show you the song. It's my favorite song. And I'm terrified. Like, I'm trying so hard to act cool. I don't know how this little girl is not so scared. But I'm just like, oh, okay, hold on. Let me just go look real quick because my immediate thought was like, maybe somebody's in the house, like a real person, because that sounded way too real. It literally was just a strum of a guitar. So I go into the parents' room, I turn on all lights, the guitar is just sitting against the wall. Nobody's in the house. I do a sweep, and I'm like really disturbed because every sweep I'm doing, I feel like something is just hovering and following me into every room I'm going into. So I finally sit back down with her. I'm like, okay, babe, let's watch like 10 more minutes of the show, and then like we're gonna go to bed. When I sat on the couch with her, it was the first time I felt like not super heavy, overpowering energy. And I'm like, whew, okay, like, but anyways, I was like, okay, this feels a little less heavy. Sorry, my dog's drinking water in the background. She's so loud. So I'm like, okay, I can breathe a little bit. And I pick up the baby monitor right next to us. You guys know what's coming. You've seen the scary movies because it literally was just like that. Pick up the baby monitor to check on Aura and literally gag when I think about this because it was so terrifying. I see a hand, right next to the baby. She's sleeping, she's swaddling, and it's a creepy hand where the nails are like this long and it's just this black shadowy hand just right next to her. And again, this is the first time I said I felt relieved, like I wasn't being followed. It's because it went in the other room. I freak out. I literally sprinted, ran, busted into Aura's room, woke her up because I came in the door so hot. She was crying and just felt that energy in that room was disgusting. I pick her up, I bring her back out to the living room. I'm like trying to explain to the parents when they come home, like they're gonna think I'm insane of why their kids are still awake. And I'm sitting on the couch with the baby and with Luna, and I forgot to turn off the baby monitor. And I literally hear just disembodied voices coming from the baby monitor. Terrifying, out of nowhere, loud. And I literally just shut the baby monitor off. And the baby ended up falling back asleep in my arms. Luna ended up falling back asleep, and she like fell asleep on me, like her little head was on my shoulder. When the parents came out, I was like, sorry, they're just like so sweet, and they just wanted to sleep out here with me. Because I tried again to, like I've explained this in the other video, but I tried to kind of bring it up to them before, how like something I thought was going on in their house, paranormal, and they looked at me like I was fucking insane. So I knew I wasn't getting anywhere with that. But that was also one of the terrifying times I experienced babysitting for those kids.
Another scary story, and this one comes from the UAE. So when I was around 8 years old, my family and I, my family with 3 brothers and a sister, lived in a house in the UAE. We had just gotten a new nanny, and she was from Indonesia. At first, everything seemed calm, but after 3 weeks that she had been living with us, she started to act weird. She became super furious at me for no reason all the time and would lie to my mom, complaining that I'd swear at her and throw things at her. I didn't even know any swear words, so how could I swear at her? And since I was young, my mom always took her side and nobody ever believed me. Aww. You know what? My mom used to do that too. She used to take everybody's side. If anyone complained about me, she would take everybody's side, believe the whole entire world except for me. And that creates a lot of self-doubt for people. It did for me. She realizes her mistake now as an older adult. One day out of nowhere, I began seeing a really tall woman dressed in all black. That lasted for at least 2 weeks. I remember clearly, one day we were sitting there, my family was having lunch in the kitchen, and I was in the living room, and I all of a sudden became paralyzed. I thought I was just dreaming because the room looked like it had turned into hell. The walls were burnt and you could hear screams. And at the same time, that same woman appeared to me when I was paralyzed and told me to come to her. And about 5 seconds after I saw her, I passed out. I fainted. But my family didn't think much of it. Oh my God, you were only 8 and they weren't concerned? Like, that's too little to just faint out of nowhere. Anyways, 4 months later, my brother and I were on our way home in my mom's car from school. My mom gets a call from my sister saying she has caught the maid trying to run away from home. So my mom replied saying, "We're at the roundabout. We're about to reach home." And when we reached home, my older brother and I were told to go into different rooms while my parents and eldest siblings talked to the maid. My dad searched the maid's bag that she was running away with and found clothes, but they were not her clothes. It was my family's clothes inside the bag. And then there was a little jar, a container filled to the brim with blood that had writing on a small piece of paper that you see in black magic stuff. It turned out that the woman I've been seeing was a jinn that the nanny had sent to haunt me. Oh my God. Then my parents sent the maid back to Indonesia, but a few weeks after the incident, my sister immediately began acting weird around her family. She had developed major dark under eyes and she was pale. One day, she became a whole different person. She began sitting in my room playing the Quran and screaming loudly and reading the Quran loudly, like possessed loudly. She'd been saying verses from the Quran that she had never ever memorized and that she didn't know. But this would go on for 2 long days until my mom let her stay in her room while I went back to sleeping in my own room. One night, my mom told me she felt unsafe being alone with my sister because of how she was feeling. So I assured her that I would just sleep in her bed on the mattress on the floor. At exactly 3 o'clock in the morning, my sister woke up, grabbed me, and tossed me out of her room and locked the door. I was so confused, but I just went back to my room and went into bed, about to doze off until I heard a scream, and it was my mom's scream. It sounded like she was in pain. I ran around screaming and banging the doors to all my siblings' rooms for help, and when they came out, they tried to help me break my mom's door, but we were unsuccessful. My dad told my mom to open the door, and as my mom tried and finally opened the door, we could see blood everywhere coming from my mom. And in the corner of the room, my sister was crouched in the corner, giggling with an evil laugh. My family knew they had had enough and took her to a sheikh, which is like a Muslim priest. And he said that there was nothing wrong with her. Keep in mind, he was a young sheikh, very inexperienced. So we ended up taking her to the hospital where they diagnosed her with bipolar disorder. And when she came back from the hospital, the only person she wanted to be around was me. After a few years, my sister slowly began getting better, but something was still off. Every time she would call me into her room or when I needed to get something from her room, it always reeked of metallic, bloody smell. I didn't think much of it and let it pass. A few years later, my mom was on the phone with her friend about the sheikh that she saw in Egypt that helped my mom's friend's daughter since she was possessed. My mom knew she had to take my sister to this sheikh. My mom gave us no intel of what happened in Egypt, but she took my sister there. And when they got home from their trip, I asked my mom everything, and what my mom said made my blood run cold. She said that my sister has had a curse, black magic, put on her and was possessed since the time that we had that nanny from Indonesia. And if you remember in the beginning, the first part when I was paralyzed in the dark, that woman figure that kept calling my name and telling me to come to her. And since I didn't come to her, this whole time my sister had gotten possessed by that jinn and wanted to be in her different dimension and get into the dimension of this family and become a part of this family. So she had possessed the sister. Oh my God, so for like 2 years, the sister was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when she was actually possessed. This is why you have to believe what your children say. they're not always lying to you. They are telling the truth too. So if they feel something's off, maybe go on that hunch and like see what's up and do some more digging and research. It's your children, right? You're going to be attentive and like listen to their concerns, because that really sucked for her that she had to go through that for 2 years. Anyways, send me more, guys. These are so good.
I know it's pretty late, but that just means that you can go get you a snack, kick your feet up, rub your feet together, and get ready for story time before you go to sleep. So there's this guy, let's call him Dre, and I know I might be whispering, that's because baby girl's sleeping, I don't want to wake her. Anyways, Dre is Nigerian, but he's a Nigerian that grew up in the hood. And this is Dre's story, this is Dre's submission. Now, Dre was Nigerian, of course, like his parents was from Nigeria, they had, they spoke the language, had the accent and everything. But because Dre grew up in the hood, he wasn't really close to his Nigerian roots. Like, as far as, like, witchcraft and stuff. Of course, he ate the food. Y'all get it. Anyway, Dre started hanging out with the wrong people, right? The wrong crowd from school. And long story short, he started robbing people. He was catching licks left and right. And this is the story that made Dre stop catching licks. One day, Dre went to the park with his friends to play basketball. After they finished playing basketball, they're wrapping it up. Dre's walking back to his car. His friends pull off, but he stayed because he wanted to. So he stayed in the parking lot. He sparked up and he just chilled for a second and he did what he had to do. Now, across the street from the basketball court in the parking lot that he was in was an ATM. And as Dre is about to pull off, this lady just comes out the ATM. And from where Dre was looking, because it's those type of ATMs that's like kind of like glass, she took out a lot of money. So Dre's like, I got me a lick. So boom, Dre put on the shiesty. He put on a black hoodie. Mind you, this was nighttime, so it was dark. Now, I should say that Dre only like caught licks off people that are harmless, because he doesn't want to harm anybody. He really just want to get some money or some phones or whatever. The lady looked like she's not really gonna fight back. So Dre walks up to her, like in front of her, and stops her because she was walking. And Dre says to the lady, hey ma'am, I'm not even gonna lie. If you don't want to get going right now, you got to give me all that money you just took out. Now, Dre's fully prepared to, like, put up a little fight. He's not really going to hurt her. But she doesn't say anything. She just stares at him. The stare was a little scary for a second, but he's like, maybe she didn't hear me. He's like, ma'am, give me your money. And so the lady is still, like, staring at him. She's not saying anything. She's not running. She ain't fighting. She's just staring at him. And so he pretends like he's about to pull something out of his hoodie. He ain't pulling nothing out. So the lady's like, type shit, and hands him over her bag. He takes the bag. He's like, type shit, and goes to his car. And the whole time he's running towards his car, the lady is just staring at him go. And for a second, he's thinking, he like, yo, is she the feds? So he's like, yeah, I really gotta lay low because she might be the feds. So he goes to the car, he drives off. As he's driving, he looks inside the purse, and the money that he thought was there wasn't there anymore. So he's like, yo, where's that money she just pulled out? Like, I watched her put the money in her purse, but the money's not there. So he's like, all right, bro, this was like pointless. So he opens the window as he's driving and he throws the purse out. And as he's driving, there's a bus stop coming up and there's a red light. So he has to stop at the red light. And guess who he sees at the red light? The lady. But that's weird because the lady, he's driving. The lady was on foot. He's like, that's impossible. That's impossible that this lady is at this bus stop right now because I left her all the way back there. He's like, all right, whatever. I'm wildin'. Let me go home. He goes home thinking everything's going to be okay. Oh, but no, baby, because over the next few weeks, he's seeing this lady everywhere, whether it's the corner store, whether it's Walmart, whether it's school, he is seeing her everywhere. And the thing is, she's not saying anything. He would literally just see her walk past and just look at him. He told his friends about it, but his friends don't believe him because whenever he sees this lady and he tries to show his friends, nobody's there. It gets so bad that he's seeing this lady in his dreams. At first, it was some dreams, and then it was like every other day, and then it was every night. Now, mind you, he's going through this, and he's Nigerian, and as much as he wants to tell his parents, that means he would have to tell his parents that he robbed somebody. At this point, this is getting bad, because it's about a month now, and it's to the point where sometimes he'll see her in mirrors. He's talking about this to his friends all of the time, to the point where it's starting to be concerning. Like, his friends just started to be worried about him. Of course, he wasn't hanging with the right crowd, so they kind of like stopped being friends with him. And so the fact that they stopped being friends with him made him crash out even more, because his life is falling apart now and he doesn't even know how to explain it. And whenever he tries to explain it, he sounds crazy and nobody believes him. So at this point, he's really crashing out. It's so bad to the point where he's trying to keep himself up because he does not want to keep dreaming about her. And so it got to a point where he's like talking to her, but not her. He's like questioning her, like, what do you want from me? I'm sorry. I will never rob again. And this would happen in the most random places because he's losing his mata. So one day his family noticed that he ain't been out his room in like 2 days. So his siblings decided to go check up on him. And when they went in his room, that young man was in bad shape. And he's like blabbering and nobody's understanding what he's saying. He is acting unhinged. So his siblings went to his parents and his parents came in the room. Ultimately, Dre was so bad that his parents ended up having to take him to a psych ward. When he got to the psych ward, they gave him medicine to sleep. So now he's like sleeping a long time and he's seeing this lady. So whenever he wakes up, it's even worse. Finally, he works up the courage to tell his parents what happened. And so the moment he told his parents the full story, they understood. They immediately signed him out of that psych ward and they sent him back to the village. They booked him a flight with the quickness. When he got back to Nigeria with his parents, they had to do a lot of work on him, like a lot. And come to find out, he ended up robbing a lugau, a witch. That witch's magic was pretty freaking strong because it took a lot to get it all off of him. He had to alternate between church and root work. After a couple of months of being in Nigeria, he was finally back to normal. Dre says he will never, ever in his life catch another lick ever again. Dre told me to tell the YNs nowadays that it's all fun and games until you have to deal with something spiritually. You can't fight your way out of that one. You can't shoot your way out of that one. Anyways, make sure you guys are following me on Instagram in case they take this app away. Yeah, because how else are you going to get your stories? Exactly, you get it.
Get ready with me while I tell you something very scary I went through. Correction, that I went through. Okay, so this story took place in 2016. My parents, they clean offices, and me and my brother, we used to go help them at the time. So it's basically like they go at night when nobody's in the buildings to clean the offices. So I don't want to say exactly where this was, but this building was pretty big. It was a 2-story building, and we would usually separate. So it would be my mom and dad, and then me and my brother. So there was this one specific time where there were some construction workers and they had to go at night too, so nobody's at the building. So me and my brother, we were in an office, and sometimes the bucket where we throw the trash in gets really full. So I would tell my brother, can you go throw the trash, so I could start taking more trash out because it didn't fit anymore. So I noticed my brother was taking a little longer than he should have, and I was like, okay, let me just leave. So I was like, oh, let me just leave. I'm already done with this office, so let me see where he's at. So this is where it gets really freaking creepy. By the time I get to the hallway, my mom and dad and my brother are there. And my brother is telling them that he ran into a construction worker. My brother starts telling my dad how the construction worker stopped him and asked him if he's ever heard noises in the building or if he's ever seen anything. My brother then tells him, yeah, we do hear things sometimes, but we just like ignore it, or we just don't pay much attention to it. Although there were times we did hear things and we got scared. Well, the construction worker starts telling my brother that they're not coming at night anymore. They're getting their stuff and leaving because they saw a little boy. So they saw a little boy dressed in hospital clothes, like a hospital gown, running through the hallway, and a doctor or nurse type looking chasing after them. Yeah, and mind you, this building is not a hospital, not a clinic. It is a call center. So it was a call center upstairs, and downstairs it was a DR Horton. The DR Horton office was where the construction workers were in. So my dad starts saying like there's no way, they just made that up. Start saying they're just trying to scare you, like blah blah blah. So we just like go about the date. We didn't really think much of it. It did scare us, but we were like, what the fuck. So fast forward a couple months later. So we're back in the building and my dad comes up to us and he looks freaking scared. And we're like, what happened? And he said that he saw so my dad starts telling us that he was in the hallway and that he saw a doctor pushing a patient on like a hospital bed, and they were exiting the building, and that my dad yelled, "Hey!" and that they turned and looked at him directly. The patient looked directly into my dad, and my dad was like looking at him, and that quickly they exited the building. And my dad said he ran out of the building, and when he went out there was nothing, like no cars, it was empty. It's just our car there in the building parking lot. So after that, we decided that we did not want to separate, and my dad was like, F that, we're not separating. We literally saw what the construction workers said that they saw, except it wasn't a kid, it was like an older guy. So, well, shortly after that happened, we didn't work there long after that, but now, so a couple months from today, we went to go visit that building, but it's completely abandoned. Like, it's just, there's nothing in it. So I'm just like, but yeah, let me know if you guys believe in ghosts, and let me know if you guys want more scary stories, because I have a lot.
6 years ago, a medium told me if I did not leave my house, that something was going to kill me. Summer 2018, I moved with my son to North Carolina, where his dad was stationed. He had been living in the house that we were renting, but we didn't have anything, just the couch that we were sleeping on for a little bit, because we were gonna order a bed and it was not gonna get there until November. So we decided we were just gonna sleep on the couch. Every other room was completely done and ready to go. 2 weeks later, I started at my new job at Lux Salon in Raleigh. I started the same day as a girl named Veronica. Found out the day before I started that I was pregnant with my daughter. What's relative about that is at night, when you first are pregnant, when you're pregnant the whole time, you have to pee a ton. And my husband at the time and I were sleeping on the couch because we didn't have a bed until November, and it was September at this point. And so the first time I have to go back to the bathroom in the middle of the night, my eyes are adjusted, I sit up, and I start walking towards the bathroom, which is like down the hallway. And I feel a heaviness, and then I feel like I'm walking through a black shadow. I freak out, I flip on the light really fast. Obviously there was nothing there, and I kept that light on. The first instance of something like spooky happening. But at night, things would fall off of the walls, and it was terrifying to me. So I'm telling everyone at work, like, you know, I'm the new girl, I'm weird, but I have all this stuff happening to me. So I'm discussing everything, and Veronica's like listening and stuff, and we're becoming, you know, like buds. She's clocking it. I didn't know her mom was a medium, and she didn't disclose that, nor do I think that necessarily she told her mom any of this. One night it got really scary because it was like 8 o'clock at night, we're around the dinner table, and there's banging on the side of our house, and there's no windows on that side. So I text my neighbor, I was like, hey, are you banging on the side of the house? She's like, oh my gosh, no. And then suddenly the banging was upstairs above us and in my son's room. My son had been screaming like twice for whatever reason at night, which is very unusual for him. So that freaked me out too. So my husband runs upstairs, and he can't hear the banging, but I can hear the banging. And I'm like, he's like, there's nothing. I'm like, it's banging still. He runs downstairs, and the banging is on the side of the house again. I don't even remember what we did that night. I blacked out. I don't remember anything. I don't even remember telling my family it was happening, but I told the girls out at work. Okay. I was like, listen, this is happening, and this is creepy. I'm pregnant. Finally, we have a bed, okay? So I don't have to do the spooky bathroom trips at night. So we have a bed, we live upstairs. One night when I was pretty pregnant, I shot up in bed because I was being choked. And I'm sorry if I'm talking about this like very nonchalantly. This is my 4th time recording this. The last time I recorded it, like just 5 minutes ago, the audio was gone. So I should actually check and see if the audio is working. Okay, it's working. Wake up, I'm being choked. And it's not like reflux like you get when you're pregnant. It's like I felt like someone was choking on me. I sit up so fast. I'm like, it's hard to breathe, but I catch my breath. And I'm like, and I just think, okay, reflux. Because I'm scared. I don't want to admit that there's something spooky going on. I had a relationship with God, but not really. I wasn't praying to him or anything like that. Like the relationship was just not there. I wish I had a relationship at that point, because I feel like I would be able to just like cast the demons out. So I tell my neighbor, who's like a little bit woo-woo, and her best friend is also woo-woo. They're like witches, and they're like, listen, there is such a heavy presence in this house. Like it's terrifying. I've got my cross, my baby, we've got the windows open, we're saging, I'm saying that Our Father, you know, because I'm Catholic, that's just like what I know, that's all I know. Everything is good and clear until I give birth to my daughter. I was in so much bliss, and I started getting very sick. I had rashes all over my body. I couldn't bend my fingers. Like, it was very progressive, and I kept getting more and more sick. I went to the emergency room. I went to my OB/GYN. Like, no one can figure out exactly what is going on. So I get on this like antibiotic type of thing, and I start feeling good on Friday. Monday, June 10th, baby, is when my AVM bursts. I didn't know I had my AVM at all. So all I think is I have a massive headache. It was to the point where I could not go to sleep. And I have my whole stroke story on my profile. You can go and listen to it. So I'm gonna really skip ahead. Go to the hospital in June. I'm home by October. I realized because of my stroke, I can't go up and down stairs. At this point, like, I was in a walker for assistance. We need to buy a house. We buy a cute little ranch, and I tell all the girls at work, like, oh my gosh, like, I bought a house. And Veronica goes, wait, so you're not in that house anymore? I'm like, no. She goes, okay, my mom wrote you a letter. When I say this letter blew my mind, go to part 2. Okay, part 2 of a medium told me that I was gonna die in my house if I didn't leave. So Veronica gives me this letter from her car that her mom had written to me when I was in the hospital. But Veronica did not give it to me because she was scared that I would freak out. My new house and safe, and it's so much lighter. Like, everything feels like I don't feel like I'm being watched all the time. I don't feel like something is out to get me, because I did feel like something was out to get me. So I get home, I read the letter, and my heart fell into my butt. So she had written the letter back in June, and at this point, I think it's January that I'm reading this letter. But the letter said, essentially, if you do not leave this house, there is something dark and evil in this house. If you do not leave, you will die. You specifically will die. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. Like, everything is clicking together. Something in that house wanted me dead. And I feel like I'm not even getting into detail. It was such a heaviness, and there were so many people that stayed in our house constantly on the weekends that I don't think I've ever even brought it up to them. I would love now to know if they ever felt this heaviness. But like I said in part 1, I didn't have much of a relationship with God. When I woke up from my stroke a week later after brain surgery, the only words I could say were I am. Oh, goosies. That meant nothing to me at the time. But now that I do have a relationship with God, God literally pulled me out of that demonic space. He made it so apparent that I could only say I am to let me know he's got me. He saved me. Knowing I didn't have a relationship with him, but he still rescued me, is wild to me. If you're Christian, you understand how significant the fact that I could only say I am is insane. I still have not met that medium, and I'm friends with Veronica today. Still haven't met her mom. I've talked to her mom on the phone, and only because one day she needed to talk to me. I've never talked to her before. I only had the letter from her, but she used Veronica's phone to call me, and she told me some crazy things that I was like, wait, that's not true at all. A week later, it came true. And I don't think I'm ready to discuss or disclose the things that she told me, but it definitely gave so much validation to the fact that there was something very, very dangerous in my house that was going to kill me. There's 4 reasons that my AVM bursted, and I genuinely believe that I think Satan knew that it was my brain, and he used it to his advantage. You see something? Say something.
Hey friends, if you want to hear something scary, don't scroll. So this story is about me and a girl who are not friends anymore, so I'm not going to use her real name. I'm going to refer to her as S in this story. So when I was 12 years old, I was living in a really small town where basically everybody knows everybody. And if you're familiar with small towns, you know that means that, like, for the kids, there's not much to do. You have to go find your own fun, which usually results in you getting in trouble or doing something wrong. So honestly, a lot of the times, me and many of my friends would go on Omegle or Kick, or there was one more too, but I can't remember. But this particular day, I almost said her name. This particular day, S and I went on Omegle, and we were talking to this guy, this really fucking weird guy. So we're talking to him, and he was friendly at first, but then things went downhill really fast, as it does usually when a 12-year-old is talking to a grown-ass adult on a website such as Omegle. I'm so glad that shit is banned. I don't have to worry about my daughter ever finding out about it. But anyways, we were talking like deeply with this man, and I was pretty confident in that because I was like, oh, it's just online. Like, there's no way he can like find out where we are. There's no way. Wrong, bitch. Anyways, the fucking what made us hang up was when he was like, so how old are you girls, blah, blah, blah. And we told him that we were 12 years old. And he said, ooh, I bet you guys are sexier in person. We were like, yeah. And then this motherfucker whips out his dick and just starts slonging it around in front of us and is like, you like that? We hung up so fucking fast. But little did we know that he actually already found our location. I don't know how. We were on her sister's computer. We were not supposed to be on her sister's computer. So I don't really know like what kind of location settings she had going on her computer. And it was back in the day too, where things were not as like securely locked down as they are now. I'm assuming it was relatively easy for him to find out where we were from. So anyways, after we hung up, we thought that would be the end of it. We like stopped going on Omegle for a couple weeks after that, and we were like, fuck no, we're not doing this anymore. But after that initial call with that guy on Omegle, we started to notice a new vehicle in our town, which is something that you do recognize in a very small town, in a very small community like we were in. Like I said, you know everybody when you live in a small town like that. You are a community. So we automatically knew that there was like a new vehicle in the town, and we were like, oh, okay, like somebody moved here, great, cool. Then we realized that this van, yeah, it was a black van, by the way. It was a black van, not like a regular creepy creeper white van. No, it was like a black van, and it was like one of those short ones. It didn't have windows, whatever. And the license plate was not from our state. I can remember that, but that was like normal for us because our town is one that like you have to cross through to get to one of the most famous mountains that we have in this area for skiing and snowboarding and whatever. So we were used to seeing out-of-state license plates. We didn't really think much of it until we started noticing that this van was following us around. It was everywhere we were. And we were kids that would always be outside. And if we weren't outside, we would be inside fucking around on the computers doing shit we weren't supposed to be doing. So whatever, we started noticing that this car was following us around, and we didn't want to say anything to the adults because we knew for fucking fact if we said something to the adults
that they would cut us off from all contact, walking outside by ourselves and hanging out more like we always do. And we did not want that. We were like, yeah, we can handle it ourselves, whatever. Like, whoever this is, that we're gonna beat them up, like, whatever. And oh my God, I remember the first time I ever got a glimpse of who was in the driver's seat one day when he was actually like following us down a busy street. It was on Main Street, so like there was people around, and I'm sure that that's why he didn't do anything that day. But when I saw that it was the same guy we were talking to on Omegle a couple weeks back, I was in shambles. I was like, this is like panicking, trying to tell her that that's who it was. And at first she didn't believe me. She was like, you're just paranoid. Like, there's no way that he'd be able to find out where we were. And for a while after she said that, I was like, yeah, you're probably right. Like, there's no way that he knows where we are. There's no way that it's the same guy. You're right. I'm just being paranoid. But then there was one day that we were walking home from the town pool, which was like not very far from her mother's house. So we were walking back to her mom's house, which was like off of a side street. So like you go down a side street, a paved side street, and then there's the dirt side street off of the side street. So like there's not very many people back there. And the side streets in that town are very windy too. So like even if there was a person, like they could be around the corner and they're not going to be able to see you from just like slightly around the corner. So we were walking home to her mom's house having a grand old time when here comes the fucking black van. We didn't even notice it. So we're like walking like do straight this way. Here comes the van from behind us, and then we're do and it fucking pulls up and cuts off the entire way of the dirt road that we're walking down to get to her mom's house. So I remember stopping, looking at her. It seemed like it was like 2 minutes of us staring at each other, but I think it was more like 2 seconds. Without saying a word to each other, we literally both booked it to the right as fast as we could. Because if you go right to where we were, it was like a wooded area that led to her mom's house, but it was like an unkempt wooded area. And we were walking home from the town pool. We had no shoes on. We were in our bathing suits. We were running through the woods, through the sticks, and I remember my feet were ripping. I could feel shit poking into my feet. It was so painful, and I wanted to stop, but I didn't want to stop and get fucking killed. I didn't want to experience the pain of being murdered. So anyway, once we got into her mom's house, we ended up locking all of the doors, all of the windows. Nobody was there at the time. Her parents worked a lot, and her siblings were older, so they were like always gone. Yeah, we were there alone, and after we locked up the entire house, we started looking out the window to like make sure that he was like not gonna come try to find us. And this motherfucker pulls into the driveway of her parents' house. Like, what if somebody was there? First of all, he probably knew that nobody was there because no cars were there, obviously. But like, he pulled into the driveway of her mother's house, and when we saw that, we were like, what the fuck, we gotta go hide. So we ran to the basement where her sister's bedroom was. It was like a weird setup in the basement. Like, her sister's room was like kind of locked away in the corner. Like, you could easily hide in there and like have nobody know that it was like a bedroom inside. So we were hiding in there for fucking hours until we heard her stepfather come home. And even when he got home, we didn't say anything to him. We were just like, oh yeah, we were hanging out in so-and-so's room downstairs. And it was literally, we just went about our lives after that. We did see the black van a couple more times. Anyways, we did see the van a couple more times, but nothing like seriously bad happened again like that. And then after a couple more days, we never saw the van again. So I'm assuming he gave up. I'm hoping he didn't find another victim. I'm assuming he did because he was a fucking predator. But that's the time that my friend and I almost got kidnapped from a guy that we met on Omegle. Yeah.